Hi, I'm Mark Andresen. I'm going to show you guys how to bend this conduit. At least I'm going to try to, right? So I cut this in half. It's like a 5-foot length. I kind of cleaned this end up a little bit, even though I'm planning on cutting that end off in a minute. First thing I need to do, I'm going to bend a conduit that comes out of this connector, has a box offset, has a 90, a 3-bend saddle, a 90, and then it has a offset that goes into this connector right here, okay? I'm going to do it in one piece. So the first thing I want to do is put a box offset in. Box offset, don't want to have too much of a dog in there. After I put a box offset in there, I want to make a measurement. I want to measure what the distance is between the top of this box to the back of the board. Looks like it's 16 inches. I want to give myself a little bit of space, so I'll probably do it in 15 and a half. I'm going to make a mark on here that's 15 and a half inches from the end. Then I'm going to subtract 5 inches for take up. So I'll put it at 10 and a half inches. This mark here, I'm going to want it to go all the way around. When I mark it all the way around, in order to avoid having like a spiral that gets it way out of whack, I go halfway in one direction and then halfway in the other direction. Thanks, man. And I want to make sure that I bend this in the right direction. So it's going to be coming out of that box. It's going to be bending that way, so this bender needs to be 90 degrees off this side. Put that line that I just made on the arrow. Get it lined up so that it's just right. I'm kind of looking down the end of this so that this offset will be just right, and this will be bent exactly like 90 degrees after that. Make sure that it's on the arrow. These Klein benders aren't the very best, so sometimes the arrow isn't in the right spot. Yeah.
You should go to your feet.
Right.
Got some
I had
sexy
matching
calves.
socks today.
Got some sexy calves.
That's right. Bend this to 90 degrees. Got a level that might help. I have one. It's that one. All right, so we're ready to rock and roll. I want to make sure that it's got the same length, the right length that I wanted. What did I say I wanted it to be? 15 and a half?
Yep.
Looks like it makes it about 1/8 of an inch too long. So the arrow on this is off by a little bit. When I go to do that last 90, when I go to put that last 90 on here, I don't want it to do that. Now I can set this in there, get it all lined up, and mark this for the middle bend on that. That's one way I can do that. Or I could measure off the edge of this board. So this board, we're gonna assume that it's square, right? I'm gonna come off the back of this connector. Just kind of put my finger on the edge of this board. Put it up there to where that goes. It looks like I need to have it at 14 3/8. 14 3/8 is going to be the center of this obstruction. So if I measure 14 3/8 from the back of this bend, it should be the middle of that. when I go to bend that 3-bend saddle on there, the first bend of that saddle is going to make it so that this kind of moves a little bit, because this is going to be the hypotenuse of the triangle that is in between the first bend and the second bend. So I'm going to add just a little bit to that. In this case, I think I'll put a little bit more than 1/8. This mark I'm going to go all the way around. Then if I'm bending a 3-bend saddle, what does that Uglies book say that I'm supposed to use for a multiplier for this?
2.5.
2.5?
Yep.
All right. I found that you've got a little bit of leeway with that. And if I mark it at 2.5 for both of those, I find that it makes it just a little bit taller than I like it to be. So I'm going to go at 2 3/8 inches, both directions off of it. Nice. This cap just doesn't fit on the back. Then I'm going to make these marks go all the way around as well. Okay, the next bend that I want to put in here, I want to put the middle bend that is on the 3-bend saddle. Okay, 3-bend saddle is definitely the hardest conduit bend to put into a conduit. I want to line it up. I don't want this to go the wrong way, right? So this needs to come out and then back. So the middle bend that I'm going to do next, if I'm pulling down, I want it to go this way. But I put this right on that teardrop, right? Put it on the teardrop on the bender. Make sure that it's lined up good. Then I want to bend this to a 45-degree angle. So I'll have a 45-degree angle in the middle and two 22.5-degree angles on the sides. Straight up with the handle is 30, right? I have this level I can put on there. That bubble should be right in the middle when this is at 45 degrees. Okay. Then these other two bends on this 3-bend saddle, this one's going to be hard to do because I don't have a lot of space. I don't have a lot of leverage that I can put on there. Luckily I'm a fat, so this here will go on that arrow. I want to make sure that I align it properly with this other bend so that I don't get a dog in there, right? And taller people have a tendency to try and push this down. It's not very easy to do it that way. I hook my foot around it and put my knee behind it, and I just pull down on this, right? I'm gonna go until I get to 22.5. These lines that are on this bender are almost always wrong. So I'm gonna go a little bit less than that. It's also easier to put a little bit more bend into something than it is to put a little bit less bend. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna flip this all the way around, put it on the arrow again. Okay. Get it lined up so I don't put a dog in it. If I grab this as close to this as I can, the bend, it works as if I'm using a lot of foot pressure, right? Even though it's inverted. Looks like this one needs just a little bit more bend. In order to find out, I'm gonna set it on this table. I'm gonna line these up with the edge of the table. When I line this one up with the edge of the table, I can see that where this bend gets finished bending, it's too far this way. If I line this end up with the edge of the table, it looks like it's pretty close to right on. So this one needs to have some more bend put into it. Okay. If I look down this thing, I should be able to see a pretty straight line. Yeah? So that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna make a mark where I want to have the back of the next 90 that's gonna go down, okay? First, holy freak. First I need to make a measurement. I'm gonna measure kind of the same way I did last time. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm gonna just get the edge of this board like that. I'm gonna move it down. And I put my eyeball on it. This front connector is lined up with this connector that's closer to me. Looks like I need to make this about 28 7/8 inches. 28 7/8 inches. I'm gonna mark this conduit at 28 7/8 inches.
What was it?
Now I established that that arrow is off by about 1/8 of an inch when I made this first bend. But on this one, I'm just gonna line it up with that star, and I'm gonna have the bender facing in the opposite direction. So I don't need to take up 5 inches on this one. I just need to put it right on the star. Now when I put it on the star, the bender is gonna be facing in the opposite direction than it was. So if I took away 5, I'd be putting the bender on like this, bending that up like that. But since I'm gonna put it on the star, I spin the bender around, it's going in the opposite direction. Put it on the star, make sure that the handle is lined up with that. So when I go to bend this, when I get done, my hand is gonna be pretty close to bonking into the top of that, right? In order to make it so the whole ski pole thing that I was talking about earlier, I want to try my very best to get this lined up nice and pretty, okay? And I'm just going to bend this until that's 90 degrees, lots of foot pressure. My fingers are going to bonk that, right? Goodness. Now before I go to bend that last offset in here, I want to know how much real estate I have before I get to the end. Just going to set this down for right now. Oh goodness, it's crooked. Okay. I'll fix that in a sec. I need to know how much real estate I have there. What measurement did I have on this one? Inch and or a half of an inch total? Looks like it needs to come down just ever so slightly. Okay. I'm just gonna put this offset so this comes, hey, this might shrink up enough when I bend this offset in there that it lines up with that pretty good. So I'm gonna find out how much offset I need to come from the back, from this board to the inside of this here connector. Looks like it needs to have a 2.5 inch offset. 2.5 inch offset. So I need to put a 2.5 inch offset in there. If I'm gonna use 30-degree bends, I'm gonna come back just a little bit first. For this first mark, I'm gonna put it at 1 inch. I'm gonna put this one on the front of the shoe. But if I'm gonna use 30-degree bends and I wanna go 2.5 inches, what distance do I need to put in between the marks?
5 inches.
5 inches. Because it is 2 times what that is, right? So I got one at 1 inch, that's gonna be the front of my shoe. This is 5 inches from that, I got one at 6 inches. I'm gonna make both of these marks go all the way around. Sweet. Okay. I want to make sure that they go in the right direction. It'd be pretty embarrassing at this point if this offset went like that, right? So I want to make sure that it goes like this. I'm going to put this one on there first and pull it up. If I pull this up until this handle is straight up, that should be a 30-degree bend, right? Now I'm gonna have to have this at a little bit of an angle because I got this, the middle bend of that saddle is touching right there. So instead of having it straight up this way, I'm gonna lean it over just a touch. Bend it until this handle is straight up. Yep. And flip it over. Bend it till the handle's straight up. Sweat like a freaking pig. This one here, I've got this here is bonking into the ground, so I gotta have it inverted when I do this. Finish this until the handle's straight up. That should put that 2.5 inches off the ground. I'm gonna just see how much longer this side is than this side. I'll cut it appropriately. So this is 16 inches to the back. That's 20 1/8 to the back. So that's 4 1/8 inches longer. I'll just make sure that this side is 4 1/8 inches longer. And that's one. We got 15 and 5. 15 and 5 plus 4. 19 3/4.
Wow, that's really close.
Just like that. 5 foot length. That's why when I want you to cut these in half, I say not half, right? Okay, so this looks pretty good. Is it gonna work?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll go like that, right? Sweet. Okay, it looks like this is twisted just a little bit. I can clamp that on there. This box offset is good. It goes and it's touching the board. This is good, it's touching the board. We wanted the distance in between the middle of this bend and the top of this conduit to be in between touching and 1/4 of an inch. Right now it looks like it's about exactly 1/8 of an inch. This is touching clear to here. This looks pretty good. I'd give that one an A, okay? I'll just put my name, Marcos, on here. Not just kidding.